Welcome back. You're watching us here on Chartbusters on CNBC TV 18. Let's talk about the primary market action. The IPO that opens up today for subscription is that of the online travel agent Le Travenews Tech, more popularly, of course, known as ixigo. Its IPO is open for subscription. It's a 740 crore IPO, which consists of an offer for sale for about 640 crores and fresh issue of 120 crores as well. They've raised about 300 crore plus from anchor investors. Alok Bajpai, who's the director and group CEO, and Rajneesh Kumar now join in to discuss the company's post-listing strategy. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining in. It's your day one on D Street, seeking funds from investors. Let's talk about a couple of things when it comes to your numbers and growth plans going forward, right? I was looking at your revenue CAGR over FY21 to FY23. Of course, that was skewed by the pandemic. So the number is close to around 64%. So what we want to understand is what's a sustainable growth in your top line from current levels, and what's the kind of margin band that you would operate in? I think, Alok, you're on mute.
Apologies. Even if you look at our revenue pre-pandemic to now, one of the things you'll notice is that ixigo was the fastest growing OTA in India between FY20 and FY23. We grew at about 350% in that period. So it's not just the coming out of pandemic part, but I think the fact that ixigo, which started as a utility app focused on solving for customer experience across trains, flights, buses, and now hotels, transitioned to become an OTA just pre-pandemic. And what you're seeing in terms of resurgence post that is essentially our large base of users actually starting to transact with us and starting to show up on the revenue and the top line as well as on the bottom line. I think if you look at the overall market, right, travel in India is going to be a 5.9 lakh crore industry across train, flight, bus, and hotel in FY28. And a large part of that, almost half of that is going to get done online. Now, in terms of our growth and potential, I mean, we are the market leaders on the train OTA segment, the second largest on the bus OTA segment, and the fastest growing one on the flight OTA segment. The overall OTA market is going to grow at around 18% as per the Frost & Sullivan report over the next 4 to 5 years. But I think in the past, historically, you can see that we've grown way faster than the market.
All right. So how much faster than the market can you grow? And by virtue of that, what could your market share be? It's a little over 6% right now.
So I think that's the aggregate market share on a GTV level. But if you look at the individual categories, right, on trains, we have a market share which is upwards of 52% in the OTA market. On the buses side, we are at about 12.9% of the OTA market. And on the flight side, we would be at around 5.3% of the overall market. This is the 9-month FY24 data. Now, if you look at the growth, right, the prior year on flights, we were at 3 and change. And you look at train also, we've grown from 46% to 52% on buses as well. We have grown from 11.5 to 12.9. So I think we continue to gain market share in all the categories we operate. In terms of penetration, because buses and flights, we are under-penetrated compared to the train category. I think there's strong growth potential that we foresee there. And hotels, we're just getting started. We launched in December.
Okay, all right. Hi, gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to the show, both Rajneesh as well as Alok. And wishing you all the best. And me and Mangalam, as well as the entire team, will look forward to chatting up with you as the time progresses. Want a couple of details with regard to your business. How do you see the revenue mix currently, and how do you see it, say, in the next couple of years, the transformation of your revenue mix? Give us a rough number.
So I think as you would have seen that we have very recently gotten into hotels, right? It's been in December last year. And these are very early days for us. But if you look at our revenue, how it has been evolving with time, we have had a head start in trains, right? So without making any forward-looking statements here, all I can say is that as our products keep evolving over time, I think some of these revenue mix might change over time because our head start on trains is what got us to like this market leadership position on trains. Because as you would have seen, the playbook of kind of solving for core customer pain areas on trains. We didn't start with ticketing, which is important to note here. We started by solving some of the core customer pain areas within, train as a vertical. And then, 2017 is when we started train ticketing, right? And then, flight and buses, we became OTAs later. And hotels, the entry has been very, very recent, like I said, in December last year. So, what we have seen so far is that this playbook of solving, for customer pain areas first, and then kind of driving organic traffic through that. So you would have seen that, 90% of our traffic is organic. And the reason for that, obviously, is that when you solve some of the customer pain areas and you're extremely customer-centric, we're able to kind of drive a lot of organic traffic.
Got it. Rajneesh, let's try to get a couple of broadband numbers, which is totally in line with the regulation. So don't worry about that, because we're not asking you for exact growth numbers from here on. On listing, we'll push you for that. I wanted to understand, how much of your expected share of your revenues can come in for hotels. As you said, you'll just started making an entry out there. So where do you see this number headed in the future? What's the aspiration? And also, how much of your revenues could come in from ads?
I'll take that one.
Please go ahead, Alok.
I think what you need to understand is that our playbook in terms of who we are targeting is very different here. Now, most OTAs in India that started about 15 years ago were targeting the flight first kind of customer and then monetizing from hotels once that customer was onboarded. I think ixigo has a very train first approach, and that is because we believe that the average user in Bharat or in tier 2, tier 3 cities, aspiring middle class in tier 1, trains is still the dominant mode of transport. Only 4% of Indians actually even take a flight, right? And I think from that perspective, our playbook in terms of selling categories like flights and hotels is very simple, that once we have sticky users coming to us for booking flights and buses, we are able to upsell categories like flights and hotels to them opportunistically. When an airport opens up in a town, we've seen, and we've declared this time, the numbers, we've seen the growth of flight bookings from our NBU users almost grow 90% year on year in FY24 versus FY23. So and overall flight GTV growth has been 80%, whereas the market grew at in the 20s. So I think the same playbook we are going to apply on hotels, which is to say, what does the person coming from Bhopal, from Kanpur, from Ranchi, or from Jaipur desire when it comes to hotel booking or accommodation booking, and we'll solve for that.
All right. So then final question before we let you go. We'll push you a lot more for numbers and growth estimates, etc. once you all list. A large part of your revenue, of course, comes in from the train business. And one of the risks is this increase in IRCTC charges as well. So when does this contract typically come up for renegotiation?
So, see, this is a contract which is governed by a policy. There's a B2C PSP policy that IRCTC has, which governs their relationship with all OTAs. It's a uniform relationship with all OTAs that they work with. It's not an exclusive arrangement that we have or any other OTA has. And our contract has been renewed already till FY28. And typically this is renewed under the policy. So I don't foresee a risk there of any sort. And I want to guide one thing that is very important for your viewers to understand, that look, from IRCTC's perspective, right, this is a synergistic partnership wherein we are helping them distribute train tickets to every nook and cranny of India, and bringing on board the first time train bookers that sometimes come from small villages. We have 2,481 towns from which we get transacting users. In terms of split also, you must see that revenue-wise, though train appears as more than 50%, when you look at it at a contribution margin level, which is something as a disclosure only we provide at this point, the train contribution margin contribution to the overall pie is about 45%, whereas flight and bus are 55% cumulatively. So I think that pie on the margin level has evolved a lot in terms of diversification and will continue evolving there.
All right, we take your point and, we'll push you for the numbers as well. 3,600 crores, the market cap that your guys are seeking post-listing, which implies that 5.5 times price to sales is what you're asking for at the end of FY24, annualizing your 9-month numbers. That's pretty much in line with Yatra, but a steep discount to Ease My Trip. But that's also because of the big margin differential that there is. But on all of that and more, the next time. Thank you, Alok and Rajneesh, for joining in.